Michael Jordan never believed in fate. But when his Mercedes broke down outside a rundown motel in Wilmington, North Carolina, he was about to discover that some accidents are actually destiny calling. Sitting in a plastic chair outside room 114 was an old man he barely recognized, until their eyes met. It was Coach Thompson, the man who had believed in him when no one else would. The same coach who had secretly saved Michael's basketball dreams 40 years ago was now living in a $40 a night motel forgotten by the world he had helped shape. What Michael did next didn't just change one man's life. It revealed a truth so powerful about success, family, and never forgetting where you came from, that it would transform an entire community and honor a promise his father made decades before his death. This is the story of what happens when greatness remembers to look back. The black Mercedes rolled slowly through the streets of Wilmington, North Carolina. Michael Jordan sat behind the wheel, his eyes taking in the familiar sights of his hometown. It was March 2024, and he had just finished visiting Laney High School, the same school where his basketball dreams almost died when he got cut from the varsity team as a sophomore. Michael smiled as he remembered walking those hallways again. The trophy case now held 6 of his NBA championship rings. The gym where he once cried after being cut was renamed the Michael Jordan Gymnasium. Times had changed so much since now, but some things stayed the same. The neighborhoods he drove through now looked tired. Paint peeled from old houses, kids played basketball on cracked courts with bent rims. Their shoes had holes in them, just like his once did. Michael turned onto Market Street, heading toward Highway 17. He wanted to drive past his old house before flying back to Charlotte. The sun was getting low in the sky, painting everything orange and gold. Then he heard it. Pop. Hiss. His car pulled to the right. Michael gripped the steering wheel tight and pulled over to the side of the road. He got out and walked around his car. The front right tire was completely flat. Great, he said to himself. He pulled out his phone to call for help. But there was no signal. Not even one bar. Michael looked around. He was in a part of town he didn't remember well. Old buildings lined the street. Most of them looked empty. Broken windows stared back at him like dead eyes. Across the street stood a small, run-down motel. The sign read, Sunset Motel, in faded red letters. 2 of the letters were burned out, so it looked like Sunset Motel. The parking lot had more weeds than cars. Michael decided to walk over and ask to use their phone. As he crossed the street, he noticed an old man sitting on a white plastic chair outside room 114. The man wore a faded blue shirt and old jeans. His hair was white and thin. Deep lines marked his dark face, like a map of hard years. The old man looked up as Michael approached. Their eyes met for just a second. Then the old man looked down at his hands. He seemed embarrassed, like he didn't want to bother anyone. Michael walked to the motel office. A young woman sat behind the front desk, watching TV. She looked up when he entered. "Can I help you?" she asked. "My car broke down across the street. Could I use your phone to call for help?" "Sure." She pushed an old phone across the counter. "You're Michael Jordan, aren't you?" Michael nodded. "Yes, ma'am." "Wow. What are you doing in this part of town?" "Just visiting my old school. Then my tire went flat." Michael called his assistant in Charlotte. She promised to send a tow truck right away. It would take about an hour to get there. "Thank you," Michael said, hanging up the phone. He started to leave, then stopped. "That old man outside room 14, does he live here?" The young woman looked through the window. "Mr. Thompson?" "Yeah, he's been here about 8 months now. Real nice man. Always says please and thank you. Pays his rent on time even though I know money's tight for him." Thompson? Something stirred in Michael's memory. He used to be a basketball coach, I think. Sometimes kids from the neighborhood come by and he teaches them moves in the parking lot. Never asks for money or nothing. Just helps them for free. Michael's heart started beating faster. A basketball coach? Yeah, he's got all these old pictures in his room. Basketball teams and stuff. He showed them to me once when I helped him fix his air conditioner. Real proud of those kids, you could tell. Michael thanked her and walked back outside. The old man was still sitting in his chair, watching the sunset. Michael walked slowly toward him, studying his face. The man was thin, probably too thin. His clothes were clean but worn. His shoes had been repaired with tape, but there was something about his eyes. They were kind eyes, patient eyes. The kind of eyes that had watched thousands of kids learn to dribble and shoot. "Excuse me," Michael said softly. The old man looked up. "Yes, sir. I'm Michael. My car broke down over there. I'm waiting for help to come." "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. These old streets are hard on tires." Michael sat down on the concrete step near the man's chair. "The lady inside said you used to coach basketball." The old man's face lit up a little. "Yes, sir. For 32 years. Best job in the world, working with young people." "Where did you coach?" "Mostly at Laney High School. Started there in 1978. Also coached at some middle schools and community centers after I retired." Michael's pulse quickened. Laney High School. That was his school. Laney High? I went there. "Is that right? What year did you graduate?" "What?" The old man tilted his head, studying Michael's face more carefully.
1981. You look familiar. What's your name again?
"Michael Jordan." The old man's eyes went wide. He sat up straight in his chair. "Michael? Michael Jordan?" "Yes, sir." "Oh my." The old man's voice was barely a whisper. "Michael Jordan. I can't believe it." Michael looked at the man more closely. The white hair and wrinkled face made him look different. But those eyes, Michael had seen those eyes before. "Coach Thompson?" Michael asked, his voice shaking. "Coach Earl Thompson?" Tears filled the old man's eyes. "Yes, Michael. It's me." Michael stood up quickly and reached out his hand. But instead of shaking it, Coach Thompson stood up and pulled Michael into a hug. Both men started crying. "I can't believe it's you," Coach Thompson said. "Look at you. You're so successful. So famous." "Coach, what are you doing here? Why are you living in this motel?" Coach Thompson wiped his eyes and sat back down. "Life happens, Michael. Life happens." Michael pulled up another plastic chair from in front of the next room. He sat down close to his old coach. "Tell me what happened, Coach." Coach Thompson looked out at the sunset. "My wife, Helen, died 3 years ago. Cancer. The medical bills ate up all our savings. The house payments got too hard to make on just my Social Security. I had to sell the house last year." Michael felt sick to his stomach. This man had helped shape his life. And here he was, living in a $40 a night motel. "I work part-time at Food Lion now," Coach Thompson continued. "Bagging groceries, cleaning up. The manager is nice. He knows I'm old, but he keeps me on. The money helps pay for this room and food." "Coach, why didn't you call me? Why didn't you reach out?" Coach Thompson smiled sadly. "Michael, you're busy. You've got important things to do. I didn't want to bother you with an old man's problems." "Bother me?" Michael's voice got louder. "Coach, you helped make me who I am. You made yourself, son. I just watched you grow." Michael shook his head. This wasn't right. This man had believed in him when no one else did. When Michael got cut from varsity as a sophomore, Coach Thompson was there. He coached the junior varsity team. He saw something in Michael that others missed. The tow truck pulled up across the street. Michael waved at the driver but didn't get up. "Coach, I need to take care of my car, but I'm coming back tomorrow. We need to talk more." Coach Thompson smiled. "You don't have to do that, Michael. You've got a life to live." "Tomorrow," Michael said firmly. "I'll be here at 10 in the morning." As Michael walked toward the tow truck, Coach Thompson called out to him. "Michael?" "Yes, Coach. I always knew you'd be special. From the very first day I saw you play." Michael turned around, his heart full of mixed emotions. "Coach, there's something I need to ask you tomorrow. Something I should have asked you 40 years ago." Coach Thompson nodded. He reached into his shirt pocket and pulled out a folded piece of old newspaper. Even from across the parking lot, Michael could see it was yellow with age. "I've been carrying this for 42 years, Michael," Coach Thompson said, holding up the paper. "It's from your first big game at Laney. The headline says Jordan leads comeback victory. But that's not why I kept it." "Why did you keep it?" Coach Thompson's eyes filled with tears again. "Because I knew that skinny kid who got cut from varsity would prove everyone wrong. I knew you had something special inside you." "But Michael," his voice dropped to a whisper, "I never told you why I knew. I never told you the real reason I believed in you when nobody else did." Michael walked slowly back toward his old coach. "What do you mean?" Coach Thompson looked down at the newspaper clipping in his hands. When he looked back up at Michael, his eyes held a secret that had been buried for decades. Tomorrow, Michael. Tomorrow I'll tell you something that will change how you see everything. Something about your father. Something about why I never gave up on you, even when you wanted to give up on yourself. Michael's heart was racing now. Coach, what are you talking about? But Coach Thompson just smiled and folded the newspaper clipping carefully. He put it back in his shirt pocket right over his heart. 10 o'clock tomorrow, son. I'll be right here in this chair. And I'll tell you a story that your father made me promise to never tell unless… He paused. Unless what? Unless you ever forgot where you came from. The tow truck driver honked his horn. Michael knew he had to go. But as he walked away from Coach Thompson, his mind was spinning with questions. What secret had his father told Coach Thompson? What promise? And why did Coach Thompson think Michael had forgotten where he came from? As the tow truck pulled his Mercedes away, Michael looked back at the Sunset Motel. Coach Thompson was still sitting in his plastic chair, watching the last light fade from the sky. Tomorrow couldn't come fast enough. Michael couldn't sleep that night. He lay in his bed at the Hilton Hotel in downtown Wilmington, staring at the ceiling. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Coach Thompson sitting in that plastic chair. The man who had believed in him was living in a motel. How had he let this happen? At 6 in the morning, Michael gave up trying to sleep. He got dressed and drove to a nearby diner. The waitress recognized him, but was kind enough to let him eat in peace. He ordered eggs and toast but barely touched them. His mind kept racing with questions. What secret did Coach Thompson know about his father? What promise had his dad made? And why did the coach think Michael had forgotten where he came from? At 9:30, Michael drove back to the Sunset Motel. Coach Thompson was already sitting in his chair, wearing the same clothes from yesterday. But this morning, he had combed his white hair neatly. He had even shined his old shoes. "Good morning, Michael," Coach Thompson said with a smile. "I wasn't sure you'd really come back. I said I would be here." Michael pulled up the same plastic chair from yesterday. "Coach, before you tell me about my father, I need to know something. How did you end up here? Really? Tell me everything." Coach Thompson nodded slowly. "You sure you want to hear an old man's troubles? I need to hear them." Coach Thompson looked out at the morning sky. "After I retired from Laney in 2010, Helen and I thought we had enough money saved up. We bought a little house on 4th Street. Nothing fancy, but it was ours." He paused, his hands folding together in his lap. "Helen started getting sick in 2019. First, the doctors said it was just a cold that wouldn't go away. Then they found the cancer, stage 4 lung cancer, and she never smoked a day in her life." Michael felt his chest tighten. "I'm sorry, Coach. She fought hard for 2 years. We tried everything. Regular treatments, experimental drugs, trips to Duke University Hospital. The insurance covered some of it, but not nearly enough." Coach Thompson's voice got quieter. "I sold my car first, then Helen's jewelry. Then I took out loans against the house. I would have sold my soul if it meant one more day with that woman. She must have meant everything to you. 53 years of marriage, Michael. She was my best friend. When the kids on my teams gave me trouble, she'd tell me to be patient. When I wanted to quit coaching because the pay was so low, she'd remind me that I was changing lives." Coach Thompson wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. "Helen died at home in March 2021. I held her hand until the very end. After the funeral, I realized I owed the hospital over $100. The house payments were 3 months behind. My pension was only $800. Michael shook his head in disbelief. "What did you do?" "I tried to work, substituted at schools, coached Little League for free, hoping someone would hire me full-time. But who wants to hire a 75-year-old man? I fell behind on everything." "Didn't you have any family to help?" Coach Thompson smiled sadly. "Helen and I never had children of our own. We tried for years, but it just wasn't meant to be. That's why coaching meant so much to me. All you boys were like sons to us." Michael's heart was breaking. This man had given his whole life to helping kids, and he was ending up alone and poor. "I lost the house in November 2022. Coach Thompson continued. "Tried to fight it in court, but I didn't have money for a lawyer. The bank was actually pretty nice about it. They let me stay until after Christmas. Where did you go then? Lived in my old pickup truck for 2 months. Parked at different places each night so the police wouldn't bother me. Showered at the YMCA when I could afford the day pass. Ate at soup kitchen. Michael felt sick. While he was playing golf at country clubs and flying on private jets, his old coach was homeless. Then I got the job at Food Lion, Coach Thompson said. The manager, Mr. Rodriguez, is a good man. He knew I was living in my truck. He helped me get this room here. It's not much, but it's better than sleeping in a parking lot. Coach, why didn't you call me? Why didn't you reach out for help? Coach Thompson looked directly at Michael. Son, I've seen what happens when old coaches try to contact their famous players. Most of the time they just want money. I didn't want you to think I was like that. But you weren't asking for money. You needed help. Michael, you don't understand. I was proud. Maybe too proud. I spent my whole life taking care of other people. Asking for help felt like giving up. Michael stood up and started pacing in the small area in front of the motel room. This is wrong, Coach. This is all wrong. You helped make me who I am. You should be living comfortably, not working at a grocery store and living in a motel. Life isn't always fair, son. You know that better than most people. Michael stopped pacing and looked at his old coach. What do you mean? Coach Thompson reached into his shirt pocket and pulled out the old newspaper clipping. He unfolded it carefully and handed it to Michael. The paper was yellow and fragile. The headline read, "Jordan leads Laney to victory over New Hanover." There was a picture of teenage Michael shooting a basketball. His hair was cut short. His uniform was too big for his skinny body. I remember this game, Michael said softly. It was my first time scoring more than 20 points in a varsity game. You scored 28 points that night, Coach Thompson said. But that's not why I kept this article. Michael looked up from the newspaper. Then why? Coach Thompson's eyes filled with tears. Because that was the night I knew you'd never give up. No matter what happened to you, you'd keep fighting. I don't understand. Michael, do you remember what happened the day before that game? Michael thought hard. The game was in February 1981, his junior year. He had finally made varsity, after being cut as a sophomore. He was starting to play well, but still wasn't the star player yet. I don't remember anything special about the day before. Coach Thompson nodded. I didn't think you would. You were 17 years old and focused on basketball. But I remember everything about that day. He stood up slowly from his plastic chair and walked to the window of his motel room. That was the day you came to my house, crying. Michael's eyes went wide. I came to your house? You rode your bike all the way across town. You were so upset you could barely talk. Do you remember why? Suddenly, the memory came flooding back. Michael sat down hard in his chair. The college recruiter, he whispered. That's right. The man from NC State had come to watch you practice. You played terrible that day. Missed easy shots. Turned the ball over. Got frustrated and argued with Coach Herring. Michael remembered now. He had been so excited about the recruiter coming to watch him. He wanted to impress the man so badly that he tried too hard. Everything went wrong. After practice, the recruiter told Coach Herring that you weren't ready for college basketball yet. Coach Thompson continued. Coach Herring pulled you aside and told you what the man said. He said I was too emotional, that I let pressure get to me, and you believed him. You came to my house that night ready to quit basketball forever. Michael looked down at his hands. He had forgotten about that day. It was one of the lowest points of his high school career. I sat with you on my front porch for 2 hours. Coach Thompson said, you kept saying you weren't good enough, that maybe you should focus on baseball or just give up sports altogether. What did you tell me? Coach Thompson smiled. I told you that the best players aren't the ones who never fail. They're the ones who fail and then figure out how to get better. He walked back to his chair and sat down. Then I made you a promise, Michael. Do you remember what I promised you that night? Michael shook his head. No, I don't. Coach Thompson's voice got very quiet. I promised you that if you kept working hard and never gave up, I would always believe in you, even when you didn't believe in yourself. Tears started running down Michael's face. Coach, the very next night was that game against New Hanover. You scored 28 points. But more important than the points, you showed heart. Every time they knocked you down, you got back up. Every time you missed a shot, You kept shooting. Coach Thompson held up the newspaper clipping. This article isn't about basketball, Michael. It's about character. It's about a young man who learned that failure doesn't have to be the end of the story. Michael was crying openly now. I had forgotten about that night. I had forgotten about coming to your house. I know you had. That's why I kept this newspaper all these years. To remember the boy who almost gave up but didn't. They sat in silence for a few minutes, both men lost in memories. Finally, Michael looked up at Coach Thompson. You said yesterday that my father made you promise something. What did he promise? Coach Thompson folded the newspaper clipping and put it back in his pocket, right over his heart. Your father came to see me the week after that New Hanover game, Michael. He was worried about you. He saw how much basketball meant to you. But he also saw how much pressure you put on yourself. What did he say? Coach Thompson's eyes grew distant, as if he was seeing something from long ago. He said, Earl, my boy has a gift, but gifts can be dangerous if they're not handled right. Promise me you'll watch over him. Promise me you'll keep him humble and hungry. Michael felt his throat tighten. His father had died in 1993, and he still missed him every day. But that wasn't all he said, Michael. There was something else, something bigger. Coach Thompson reached under his motel bed and pulled out a dusty shoebox. He set it on his lap, but didn't open it. Your father gave me this box before he died. He made me promise to only give it to you if you ever forgot where you came from. Michael stared at the shoebox. What's in it? Coach Thompson looked directly into Michael's eyes. Letters. Michael, letters your father wrote to you, but never sent. Letters about dreams and fears and love. And the last letter, his voice broke. The last letter he wrote just 3 weeks before he died. It's about me. Michael's hands were shaking. What does it say about you? Tomorrow, son. Come back tomorrow and I'll show you everything. But first, I need to know something. What? Coach Thompson's voice was barely a whisper. Do you think you've forgotten where you came from? Michael? Do you think success has changed who you are inside? Michael looked around at the rundown motel, at his old coach living in poverty, at the newspaper clipping that represented a promise made 40 years ago. I think, Michael said slowly, I've been so busy being successful that I stopped taking care of the people who helped me get there. Coach Thompson nodded. Then you're ready to read your father's letters. He stood up and walked Michael to his car. 10 o'clock tomorrow, son. And Michael, yes, coach? Bring a strong heart. What your father wrote, it's going to change everything you think you know about success. As Michael drove away, he looked in his rearview mirror. Coach Thompson was standing in the motel parking lot, holding that mysterious shoebox against his chest. Tomorrow couldn't come fast enough. Michael didn't even try to sleep this time. He spent the whole night in his hotel room thinking about Coach Thompson and that mysterious shoebox. What could his father have written that was so important? What did Coach Thompson mean when he said it would change everything? At sunrise, Michael was already dressed and ready to go. He stopped at a McDonald's and bought 2 breakfast sandwiches and coffee. Coach Thompson probably hadn't eaten a good breakfast in months. When Michael arrived at the Sunset Motel at 9:30, Coach Thompson was sitting in his usual rear. The shoebox sat on a small table beside him. Michael's heart started beating faster just looking at it. Good morning, son, Coach Thompson said. You look tired. I couldn't sleep. Michael handed him one of the breakfast sandwiches. I brought you something to eat. Coach Thompson's eyes lit up. Thank you, Michael. That's very kind. He unwrapped the sandwich carefully, like it was a gift. I usually just have coffee for breakfast. This is a real treat. They ate together in comfortable silence. Michael watched his old coach enjoy every bite of the sandwich. When was the last time this man had enough food? When was the last time anyone had taken care of him? Coach, Michael said finally, I'm ready to hear about my father. Coach Thompson wiped his hands on a napkin and pulled the shoebox closer. Michael, what I'm about to tell you, it's going to be hard to hear. It might make you angry at first. Why would I be angry? Because you're going to learn that some of the most important moments in your life weren't what you thought they were. Coach Thompson opened the shoebox slowly. Inside were dozens of letters, all in his father's handwriting. Some were yellow with age. Others looked like they had been read many times. Your father started writing you letters when you were 15 years old. Coach Thompson said, right after you got cut from varsity. He was so worried about you, but he didn't know how to help. Michael picked up one of the letters. His name was written on the front in his father's familiar handwriting. Why didn't he just give them to me? Because James Jordan was a proud man, just like you. He didn't want you to think he was soft or weak. Back then, fathers didn't talk about their feelings the way they do now. Coach Thompson pulled out a letter from the bottom of the box. But this one is different, Michael. This letter isn't about feelings. It's about actions. It's about things your father did that he never told you about. What kind of things? Coach Thompson held the letter, but didn't open it yet. Do you remember the mystery coach who used to help you practice when you were 16? Michael's eyes went wide. How do you know about that? Because I was that coach, Michael. The words hit Michael like a punch to the stomach. What? Every Tuesday night for 6 months, I met you at the park on 7th Street? You thought I was just some coach from another school who wanted to help you improve. Michael's mind was spinning. He remembered those nights clearly. A kind man who wouldn't tell Michael his name had spent hours teaching him new moves. The man had made Michael a better player, but he always left before Michael could ask too many questions. That was you? Michael whispered. Your father asked me to do it, but he made me promise never to tell you it was him who sent me. Coach Thompson opened the letter and began to read in James Jordan's voice. Earl, I watched my son cry himself to sleep again last night. Getting cut from that basketball team broke something inside him. He keeps saying he's not good enough, that he should just give up. But I see something in Michael that maybe he can't see yet. He has fire inside him. He just needs someone to fan the flames. Michael felt tears starting in his eyes. Dad knew I was crying? Coach Thompson nodded. He knew everything, son. Parents always do. Listen to this part. He continued reading. I can't be the one to help him with basketball. If I try to coach him, he'll think I'm just being a soft father. But you understand the game, Earl. You know how to reach kids. Would you help my boy? Not as a favor to me, but because you see what I see in him? So Dad asked you to coach me in secret? Not just coach you, Michael. He asked me to save you. Coach Thompson pulled out another letter. This one newer looking. This letter is from 1983, right after you signed with North Carolina. Listen to what your father wrote. Earl, I don't know how to thank you for what you did for Michael. Those Tuesday night sessions didn't just make him a better player, they made him believe in himself again. When Michael tells people about his success, he talks about Dean Smith and his teammates at UNC. He talks about hard work and never giving up. But you and I know the real truth. The real turning point was those nights in the park when you taught him that failure isn't permanent. Michael was crying now. I never knew any of this. There's more, son. Much more. Coach Thompson pulled out a receipt from the shoebox. It was old and faded, but Michael could still read it. It was from a sporting goods store, dated March 1980. The receipt showed the purchase of basketball shoes, size 11. The total was... Do you remember getting new basketball shoes right before your junior year? Coach Thompson asked. Yes, Mom said someone donated them to the team. Your father bought those shoes, Michael. He worked overtime for 2 weeks to afford them. But he didn't want you to know the family was struggling to pay for things like that. Michael looked at more receipts in the box. Basketball camp registration, $150. Gas money for away games, $45. New basketball, $25. All paid for by James Jordan. All made to look like donations or team expenses. How much money did my father spend on my basketball? Coach Thompson pulled out a small notebook. He kept track of everything. Over 3 years, he spent $1,847 on your basketball career. That might not sound like much now, but back then for your family, that was a lot of money. Your father worked double shifts at the electric company to afford it. Some weeks he only got 4 hours of sleep a night. But he never complained. He never told you how tired he was. Michael felt like the world was spinning around him. Why are you telling me this now, Coach? Coach Thompson's voice got very serious. Because your father made me promise something else, Michael. Something I've never told anyone. He pulled out the final letter from the box. This one looked different from the others. The paper was whiter, the handwriting shakier. This letter is dated July 1993, 3 weeks before your father died. Michael's hands started shaking. His father had been murdered in July 1993, During Michael's first retirement from basketball, he knew he was in danger? Michael asked. No, son. This letter isn't about danger. It's about legacy. It's about making sure you never forgot the people who helped you climb the mountain. Coach Thompson began reading the final letter. Earl, if you're reading this letter to Michael, it means I'm gone, and my son has lost his way. Not lost in basketball or business, but lost in his heart. Success can be a dangerous thing, Earl. It can make a man forget that he didn't climb the mountain alone. Michael closed his eyes, listening to his father's words from beyond the grave. I've watched Michael become famous. I've seen him win championships and make millions of dollars. I'm proud of him. But I'm also worried about him. Success changes people, Earl. Sometimes it makes them forget where they came from. Sometimes it makes them forget the people who believed in them when nobody else did. Coach Thompson paused and looked directly at Michael. Do you want to hear the rest? Michael nodded, even though his heart was breaking. If my son ever forgets about you, Earl, show him this letter. Show him these receipts. Show him that love isn't always loud. Sometimes love is quiet. Sometimes love is working extra shifts so your son can chase his dreams. Sometimes love is asking a friend to help when you can't help yourself. The letter continued. But most importantly, Earl, show Michael that taking care of the people who took care of him isn't just the right thing to do. It's the only thing that makes success worth having. Coach Thompson folded the letter carefully. There's one more part, Michael. The part that's going to be hardest to hear. What does it say? Earl, you never married. You never had children of your own. But you've been like a father to hundreds of kids, including my son. You've given your whole life to helping others succeed. Promise me that if you ever need help, you won't be too proud to ask. And promise me that if Michael ever has the chance to help you, he'll remember that helping you isn't charity. It's family, taking care of family. Michael was sobbing now. He knew you'd end up needing help. Your father was a wise man, Michael. He understood that teachers and coaches don't get rich helping other people's children. He understood that people like me give everything we have to help kids like you succeed. And sometimes when we get old, we end up with nothing but memories. Coach Thompson put all the letters back in the shoebox. Your father made me promise to wait until you had achieved everything you wanted to achieve. Then, if I was still alive and if I needed help, I should remind you where you came from. Why did you wait so long? Why didn't you contact me years ago? Coach Thompson smiled sadly. Because I kept thinking you'd figure it out on your own. I kept thinking that the boy who cried on my porch would remember the people who helped him. But success has a way of making the past seem small. Michael stood up and started pacing again. This changes everything, Coach. Everything. How does it change things? Michael stopped pacing and looked at his old coach sitting in that plastic chair outside a rundown motel room. Because now I understand what my father really wanted. He didn't just want me to be successful. He wanted me to use my success to take care of the people who took care of me. Coach Thompson nodded. Success without gratitude is just selfishness, Michael. Your father knew that. Coach, I have a question for you. What's that, son? Michael's voice was strong and determined. How would you like to help me honor my father's memory? Coach Thompson tilted his head. What do you mean? I mean, how would you like to help me build something that will change the lives of kids just like I used to be? Kids who need someone to believe in them when nobody else will. Coach Thompson's eyes filled with hope for the first time in years. What did you have in mind? Michael smiled through his tears. Something my father would be proud of. Something that makes sure no kid ever has to go through what I went through alone. And something that makes sure no coach like you ever has to end up living in a motel. That sounds wonderful, Michael. But I'm 78 years old. I don't know how much help I can be. Michael knelt down beside Coach Thompson's chair, just like he used to do when he was 16 years old and needed advice. Coach, do you remember what you told me the night I wanted to quit basketball? I told you that the best players aren't the ones who never fail. They're the ones who fail and then figure out how to get better. Well, I failed, Coach. I failed to take care of you. I failed to remember where I came from. But now I want to get better. Coach Thompson put his hand on Michael's shoulder, just like he used to do 40 years ago. Then let's get better together, son. As they sat there in the morning sun outside the Sunset Motel, Michael felt something he hadn't felt in years. He felt like that 16-year-old boy again, ready to work harder than anyone else to prove he belonged. But this time, he wasn't just playing for himself. He was playing for his father's memory, for Coach Thompson's future, and for every kid who needed someone to believe in them. Tomorrow couldn't come fast enough. Michael spent that night at his hotel making phone calls. He called his business manager, his lawyer, and his foundation director. By morning, he had a plan. But first, he needed to hear more about his father. Coach Thompson had promised to tell him everything, and Michael was ready to listen. When Michael arrived at the Sunset Motel the next morning, Coach Thompson was waiting with a fresh cup of coffee and another story to tell. "Good morning, son," Coach Thompson said. "You look different today, more determined." "I am determined, Coach. But before we talk about what I want to do, I need you to tell me more about my father." "You said there were things I didn't know." Coach Thompson nodded and gestured for Michael to sit down. "Your father and I talked many times over the years, Michael. Not just about basketball, but about life. About dreams and fears and what it means to be a good man." "What did he say about his dreams for me?" Coach Thompson pulled out another letter from the shoebox. "This one is from 1981, right after you started playing well on varsity. Your father was excited, but he was also scared. He began reading, 'Earl, I watched Michael play last night, and for the first time, really believe he might have a chance to play college basketball. But I'm terrified, my friend. I'm terrified that success might change him. I'm terrified that he might forget the lessons Helen and I tried to teach him about treating people right.'" Michael felt his throat tighten. Dad was scared I'd change? Every parent worries about that, son. But your father worried more than most because he saw how special you were becoming. He knew that when you're gifted, the world treats you differently. And sometimes that different treatment makes people think they're better than others. Coach Thompson continued reading. "I see how people look at Michael now. The way they smile and wave when he walks down the street. The way other parents wish their sons could play like him. It's good for his confidence, but I worry it might go to his head." "Did Dad think I was getting cocky?" "No, Michael. He thought you were still humble. But he was planning for the future. He was thinking about what would happen when you became really successful." Coach Thompson pulled out another letter, this one dated "This letter is from right before you graduated high school. You had already signed with North Carolina. Your father was so proud, but listen to what he wrote. 'Earl, my son is going to be famous someday. I can feel it in my bones. He's going to play professional basketball and make more money than our family ever dreamed of. But I pray every night that fame doesn't steal his heart. I pray that he remembers the people who helped him when he was nobody special.'" Michael wiped his eyes. "I wish he could see me now. I wish he could see that I did remember." Coach Thompson looked at Michael sadly. "Son, do you really think you remembered? What do you mean? When was the last time you visited Laney High School before yesterday?" Michael thought about it. "I don't know, maybe 10 years ago? For a ceremony or something." "When was the last time you drove through your old neighborhood just to see how people were doing?" Michael couldn't answer. "When was the last time you asked about the coaches who helped you when you were young?" Michael felt ashamed. "I didn't ask about you, Coach. I should have, but I didn't." Coach Thompson reached over and patted Michael's hand. "I'm not trying to make you feel bad, son. I'm trying to help you understand what your father saw coming." He pulled out a letter dated 1985, 2 years after Michael had started playing for the Chicago Bulls. "Your father wrote this after watching you on TV for the first time as a professional player. Earl, I watched Michael play against the Boston Celtics last night. He scored 30 points and looked like a man among boys. The announcers kept talking about how amazing he is, how he's going to be a superstar. I was so proud I cried, but after the game they interviewed him, and something worried me. When they asked about his success, he talked about hard work and natural talent. He didn't mention his high school coaches. He didn't mention his teammates. He didn't mention the people who believed in him first. I know he's still young, but I hope he doesn't forget us little people." Michael felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. Dad noticed that even back then, your father was always watching, Michael. Always listening. He loved you so much, but he was also realistic about what success can do to people. Coach Thompson pulled out a letter that looked like it had been read many times. The paper was worn soft from handling. "This letter is from 1991, right after you won your first NBA championship. Your father was happier than I'd ever seen him, but he was also more worried than ever." Why was he worried? "I had achieved everything we dreamed about. Listen to what he wrote. Earl, my son is now the most famous athlete in the world. Everyone knows his name. Children wear his jersey. Other players want to be like him. But I'm scared, my friend. I'm scared because I see how the world treats him now. People bow down to him. They tell him he's the greatest player who ever lived. They give him everything he wants before he even asks for it. How does a man stay humble when the whole world tells him he's perfect? Michael closed his eyes. His father had been right to worry. Coach Thompson continued. I try to talk to Michael about staying grounded, but it's hard. When he comes home to visit, people follow him everywhere. Reporters ask him about everything. He can't even eat dinner in peace. I understand why he doesn't come home very often anymore, but I miss the boy who used to sit on our porch and talk about his dreams. I stopped coming home as much, Michael admitted. It became too complicated with all the fans and media. Your father understood that, son, but it still made him sad. Coach Thompson pulled out one more letter from this time period. This letter is from Christmas 1992. It was the last Christmas your father spent with you before he died. I remember that Christmas. We had a good time together. Your father thought so too. But listen to what he wrote about it. Earl, Michael came home for Christmas. And for 3 days, I got my son back. Not the famous basketball player, but my boy. We worked on his car together. We played cards with the family. We talked about his childhood memories. But I noticed something that broke my heart. When I mentioned some of his old friends from high school, he couldn't remember their names. When I asked about his coaches, he could only remember Coach Smith from North Carolina and his NBA coaches. It's like his childhood disappeared when his success got too big. Michael started crying again. I did forget people, didn't I? Success has a way of making the past seem small, Michael. It's not that you stopped caring. It's that your world got so big and fast that you couldn't keep track of everything behind you. Coach Thompson pulled out the final letter about this topic. This letter is from February 1993, just 5 months before your father died. He had been thinking a lot about legacy and what really matters in life. What did he say? Earl, I've been watching Michael's career for 10 years now, and I've learned something important. Being successful isn't the same as being significant. Michael has achieved more success than I ever imagined possible. But I wonder if he understands the difference between being famous and being important. Fame is about what the world thinks of you. Importance is about what you do for the world. Michael looked up at Coach Thompson. Did Dad think I wasn't important? No, son. He thought you had the potential to be the most important athlete who ever lived. But only if you used your success to help others the way others had helped you. Coach Thompson reached into his shirt pocket and pulled out one final piece of paper. It wasn't a letter this time. It was a list, written in James Jordan's handwriting. Your father made this list 3 weeks before he died. He called it People Michael Should Never Forget. Michael's hands shook as he took the paper. At the top of the list was Coach Thompson's name. Below that were the names of other teachers, neighbors, teammates, and family friends who had helped Michael along the way. Next to each name, James Jordan had written a note about how that person had helped his son. Next to Coach Thompson's name, he had written, believed in Michael when nobody else did, saved him from quitting, taught him that failure isn't permanent. There are 23 names on this list, Michael said quietly. Your father wanted to make sure you remembered everyone who had invested in your success. He was planning to give you this list as a graduation gift when you retired from basketball. But he died before he could give it to me. Coach Thompson nodded. That's why he asked me to keep it safe. He said, Earl, if something happens to me, make sure Michael gets this list. Make sure he understands that he didn't make it alone. Michael looked at all the names on the list. Some he remembered clearly. Others he had to think about. A few he couldn't remember at all. Coach, I failed these people. I failed my father's memory. No, son, you haven't failed anybody. You just forgot for a while. But forgetting isn't permanent, just like failure isn't permanent. Coach Thompson stood up and walked to his motel room window. Your father knew this day would come, Michael. He knew that someday you'd remember what really matters. That's why he saved all these letters. That's why he made me promise to wait for the right time to show them to you. How did he know I'd find you here? Coach Thompson smiled. He didn't know you'd find me, but he knew that when you were ready to remember where you came from, you'd start looking for the people who helped you get where you are. Michael stood up and joined Coach Thompson. At the window. Outside, kids were playing basketball on the cracked court across the street. They were using a ball that was losing air and shooting at a rim that was bent. But they were laughing and having fun, just like Michael used to do. Those kids remind me of you at that age, Coach Thompson said, full of dreams but short on resources. They need help. They need someone to believe in them. Someone to show them that where they start doesn't have to be where they finish. Michael turned to face his old coach. Coach, I want to honor my father's memory. I want to make sure that kids like those have the same chances I had. And I want to make sure that coaches like you never have to worry about having a place to live or food to eat. That sounds like a wonderful dream, Michael. It's not just a dream, Coach. I'm ready to make it happen. But I need your help. Coach Thompson's eyes filled with tears. Michael, I'm an old man living in a motel. What help could I possibly give you? Michael smiled and put his hand on Coach Thompson's shoulder, just like the coach used to do for him. The same help you gave me when I was 16 years old and ready to quit. I need you to believe in me one more time. Coach Thompson looked into Michael's eyes and saw the same determination he had seen 40 years ago in a skinny teenager who refused to stay down. What do you need me to do, son? I need you to help me build something that will change lives. Something that makes sure no kid has to face their dreams alone. Something that proves my father was right about what really matters. Coach Thompson smiled through his tears. When do we start? Michael looked out at the kids playing basketball across the street. We start right now, Coach. We start right now. As they stood together at that motel room window, watching kids chase their dreams on a broken court, Michael felt his father's presence. He could almost hear James Jordan's voice saying, "Now you're getting it, son. Now you understand what success is really for." Tomorrow couldn't come fast enough. Michael couldn't sit still. The energy was flowing through him like electricity. For the first time in years, he felt like he had a real purpose beyond making money or playing golf with other rich men. Coach, I need to show you something, Michael said. He pulled out his phone and called his assistant in Charlotte. Sarah, I need you to bring the car to Wilmington today. Yes, the big Mercedes SUV. And bring Marcus with you. We're going to look at some property. Coach Thompson watched Michael pace around the small motel parking lot. Slow down, son. What's your plan? My plan is to build the best youth basketball center in North Carolina. Maybe in the whole country. A place where kids can learn basketball, but also get help with school and life skills. That sounds expensive, Michael. Michael stopped pacing and looked at his old coach. Coach, I made over $90 million just last year from my Nike deal. Money isn't the problem. Finding the right person to run this center is the problem. What kind of person are you looking for? Michael smiled. Someone who spent 32 years believing in kids when nobody else would. Someone who knows what it feels like to have nothing but still gives everything to help others succeed. Coach Thompson's eyes went wide. Michael, you can't be serious. I'm 78 years old. I live in a motel. I work at a grocery store. And 40 years ago, I was a skinny kid who got cut from the basketball team. Age and circumstances don't define what you can do, Coach. Heart does. Michael sat down on the ground in front of Coach Thompson's chair, just like he used to do when he needed advice. Coach, do you remember what you told me the night I wanted to quit basketball? I told you that champions aren't made when things are easy. They're made when things are hard. That's right. Well, right now, things are hard for both of us. You're living in a motel, and I'm living with the guilt of forgetting where I came from. But we can help each other become champions again. Coach Thompson wiped tears from his eyes. What would I do at this center? Everything, Coach. You'd run the basketball program. You'd hire other coaches. You'd decide which kids get into the program. You'd make sure they're learning life lessons, not just basketball moves. Michael, I don't know anything about running a big organization. You don't need to know about organizations, Coach. You need to know about kids. I'll handle the business side. You handle the heart side. Coach Thompson was quiet for a long time. Michael could see him thinking, weighing the possibilities against his fears. There's something else I need to tell you, Coach Thompson said finally. Something about your father that I haven't shared yet. Michael's heart started beating faster. What is it? Coach Thompson reached under his motel bed one more time. This time he pulled out a small wooden box. It was old and worn, like it had been handled many times over the years. Your father gave me this box in 1993, 3 days before he left for that golf trip where Coach Thompson's voice broke, where he was killed. Michael stared at the wooden box. His father had been murdered during a robbery while sleeping in his car during a golf trip. It was the worst day of Michael's life. What's in the box, Coach? A promise. Michael, a promise your father made to me, and a promise he wanted me to make to you. Coach Thompson opened the box slowly. Inside was a folded piece of paper and a small gold pin. The pin was shaped like a basketball with the words "Believe in Dreams" written around it. Your father had this pin made specially, Coach Thompson said. He wanted me to give it to you when the time was right. Michael picked up the pin. It was beautiful, clearly expensive, but simple in design. He had it made because he knew that someday you'd need to remember why you started playing basketball in the first place. Not for fame or money, but because you loved the game and you loved the feeling of getting better every day. Coach Thompson unfolded the piece of paper. This is the promise he wanted me to share with you. He began to read in a shaky voice. Michael, if Coach Thompson is reading this to you, it means I'm gone and you're at a crossroads in your life. You've probably achieved everything you dreamed of as a boy. You've probably made more money than our family ever thought possible. But now you have to decide what to do with that success. Michael felt his father's presence again, as if James Jordan was sitting right there with them. Son, I need you to make me a promise. Promise me that you'll use your success to open doors for other kids the way people open doors for you. Promise me that you'll never forget that talent is a gift, and gifts are meant to be shared. Coach Thompson looked up from the letter. There's more, Michael. The hardest part. Read it all, Coach. But most importantly, son, promise me that you'll take care of Coach Thompson. He's gonna grow old someday. He's gonna need help. And when that day comes, I want you to remember that helping him isn't charity. It's family. Taking care of family. Earl Thompson believed in you when you were nobody. Now I need you to believe in him when he needs it most. Michael was crying so hard he could barely breathe. Dad knew. He knew you'd need help someday. Your father was a wise man, Michael. He understood that people who spend their lives helping others don't usually end up with much money for themselves. Coach Thompson folded the letter and put it back in the box. But that's not the promise I need you to make, son. What do you mean? Your father's promise was about taking care of me. But I need you to make a different promise. A bigger promise. Michael wiped his eyes. What kind of promise? Coach Thompson stood up and walked to the edge of the motel parking lot. He pointed across the street at the kids playing basketball on the broken court. I need you to promise me that this center we're going to build won't just help kids for a few years and then get forgotten. I need you to promise me that it will keep helping kids long after we're both gone. How do I promise that? By making sure the center teaches other people to do what we're going to do. By training coaches who will go out and start their own programs. By creating a system that multiplies the help instead of just providing it. Michael walked over and stood beside Coach Thompson. They watched the kids playing basketball, shooting at that bent rim with their worn-out ball. You want to create a legacy, Michael said. I want to create an army, son. An army of people who believe in kids the way I believed in you. An army of coaches and teachers and mentors who understand that every child has potential, even when that potential is hard to see. Michael thought about his father's list of 23 people who had helped him succeed. What if each of those people had helped 23 other kids? What if those kids grew up and helped 23 more? That's brilliant, Coach. We don't just build one center. We build a training ground for people who will build more centers. Exactly. Your father dreamed of you being successful. I'm dreaming of you being significant. Michael turned to face Coach Thompson. Coach, I want to make you that promise. But first, I need you to make me a promise. What's that, son? Promise me you'll move out of this motel today. Promise me you'll let me set you up in a nice apartment while we plan this center. Promise me you'll stop living like you don't matter, because you matter more than you know. Coach Thompson's eyes filled with tears again. Michael, I can't let you just give me money. I need to earn my keep. You've been earning your keep for 78 years, Coach. You earned it every time you stayed late to help a kid who was struggling. You earned it every time you used your own money to buy equipment for your team. You earned it every Tuesday night when you met me in secret at that park to help me believe in myself again. Michael pulled out his phone and called his assistant again. Sarah, I need you to find Coach Thompson a furnished apartment in Wilmington. Something nice, but not too fancy. He's gonna be my business partner on a new project." "Business partner?" Coach Thompson asked. "That's right, we're gonna be partners in changing lives. 50-50 partners." "Michael, you can't give me half of your money." "I'm not giving you half of my money, Coach. I'm giving you half of something much more valuable. I'm giving you half the chance to honor my father's memory and half the responsibility for making sure kids like me never have to face their dreams alone." Coach Thompson sat down hard in his plastic chair. "This is all happening so fast. Coach, do you remember what you told me when I was afraid to try out for varsity again after getting cut? I told you that fear is just excitement without direction. Once you point your fear toward a goal, it becomes courage. Well, I'm pointing my fear toward a goal right now. I'm scared that I waited too long to honor my father's memory. I'm scared that I've wasted years being successful without being significant. But I'm pointing that fear toward building something that will outlast both of us." Michael knelt down beside Coach Thompson's chair and took the old man's hands in his. "Coach, will you help me keep the promise I made to my father? Will you help me build something that proves success is only valuable when you use it to lift other people up?" Coach Thompson looked into Michael's eyes. He saw the same fire that had been there 40 years ago, but now it was directed towards something bigger than personal achievement. "Yes, Michael, I'll help you keep your promise." They shook hands, and Michael felt like he was shaking hands with his father's spirit. "There's just one more thing, Coach." "What's that?" Michael smiled and pinned the Believe in Dreams pin on Coach Thompson's shirt right over his heart. "From now on, every kid who comes to our center is going to see this pin. And when they ask what it means, you're going to tell them the story of a father who believed in his son, and a son who learned to believe in others." Coach Thompson touched the pin gently. "What are we going to call this center, Michael?" Michael looked across the street at the kids playing basketball. One of them had just made a shot and was celebrating like he had won the championship. "We're going to call it the James Jordan Youth Development Center, because my father's dream wasn't just about me becoming successful. It was about me using that success to help other kids achieve their dreams too." As they stood there planning their future, both men felt something they hadn't felt in years. They felt hope. Not just hope for themselves, but hope for all the kids who would walk through the doors of their center someday. Tomorrow couldn't come fast enough. Michael spent that entire night awake in his hotel room. But this time it wasn't because he was worried. It was because he was excited. He had pages of notes spread across his bed. Ideas for the center, lists of people to call, drawings of basketball courts and classrooms. At 6 in the morning, he called his friend Ahmed Rashad in New York. Ahmad had played in the NBA and now ran several successful businesses. If anyone could help Michael turn his dream into reality, it was Ahmad. "Michael, it's 6 in the morning, man. What's going on?" "Ahmad, I need your help with something important. Can you fly down to North Carolina today?" "Today?" "Michael, I have 3 meetings scheduled. Cancel them. This is about changing lives. This is about honoring my father's memory." Ahmad's voice got serious. "I'll be there by noon." "What's this about?" "I'll explain when you get here. Just bring your business brain and your heart." At 10 o'clock, Michael drove to the Sunset Motel. Coach Thompson was waiting outside his room. But he looked different. He had put on his best shirt and pants. His white hair was combed neatly. He was holding a notebook in his hands. "Good morning, Coach. You look ready for business." "I've been thinking all night, Michael. I made some notes about what this center should include." Michael smiled. "Let me see what you've got." Coach Thompson opened his notebook. His handwriting was neat and careful, like a teacher's. "First, we need 3 full basketball courts. One for little kids, one for teenagers, and one for advanced players. Each court should have adjustable rims so kids can feel successful while they're learning." "That's smart, Coach. What else?" "We need a study hall with computers and books. Basketball opens doors, but education keeps them open. Every kid who comes to play has to spend at least 1 hour studying." Michael nodded and wrote notes in his own notebook. "We need a kitchen where kids can get healthy meals. Some of these children don't eat well at home. We can't expect them to perform if they're hungry." "Absolutely. Keep going." "We need an office for counseling. Not just about basketball, but about life. Some kids have problems at home or school. They need adults they can talk to." Coach Thompson flipped to another page in his notebook. "We need a small gym for weight training, but nothing too heavy. These are growing kids, not professional athletes. We need to be careful with their bodies. This is excellent, coach. What about staff? We need at least 4 full-time coaches. Young men and women who understand that teaching basketball is really about teaching life. We need a reading tutor, a math tutor, and someone who can help kids with college applications. Michael was impressed. Coach Thompson had thought of everything. Coach, how many kids do you think we should help at one time? No more than 80. If we try to help too many kids, we can't give each one the attention they need. Quality over quantity. At noon, Ahmad Rashad arrived at the Sunset Motel in a rental car. He was a tall, well-dressed man with kind eyes and a warm smile. Michael introduced him to Coach Thompson. Coach Thompson, this is Ahmad Rashad. Ahmad, this is the man I told you about. Ahmad shook Coach Thompson's hand firmly. Coach, Michael told me you changed his life when he was young. Michael changed his own life. I just believed in him. Well, now it's time for us to believe in your vision. The 3 men sat in plastic chairs outside Coach Thompson's motel room. Michael explained everything that had happened over the past 3 days. He told Ahmed about finding Coach Thompson, about his father's letters, and about their plan to build a youth center. Ahmad listened carefully, asking questions and taking notes. This is beautiful, Michael. It's exactly what the world needs more of. But I have some practical questions. Like what? Where are you going to build this center? How much is it going to cost? How are you going to fund it long term? Michael looked at Coach Thompson. We haven't figured out all the details yet. Ahmad smiled. That's why you called me. Let's start with location. Coach Thompson, where do you think this center should be built? Somewhere in downtown Wilmington, Coach Thompson said immediately. Close to the neighborhoods where kids need help the most. But also somewhere with good bus routes so kids from all over the city can get there. Smart thinking. Michael, have you thought about buying an existing building or building from scratch? I haven't decided yet. What do you think? Ahmad pulled out his phone and started looking at real estate websites. Let me see what's available in downtown Wilmington. After a few minutes, he looked up with excitement. There's a 50,000 square foot warehouse for sale on North 3rd Street. It's been empty for 2 years. The asking price is $800. That sounds perfect, Michael said. Let's go look at it right now. The 3 men drove to North 3rd Street in Ahmed's rental car. The warehouse was huge and old, but it had good bones. The roof was solid, the walls were strong, and there was plenty of parking. This could work, Coach Thompson said, walking around the empty space. We could put the basketball courts here, the study hall over there, and the kitchen in that corner. Ahmad was doing calculations on his phone. With renovations, equipment, and setup costs, you're looking at about $2.5 million total. Michael didn't hesitate. That's fine. What about ongoing costs? Staff salaries, utilities, food, equipment replacement. Probably $500. So I need to set aside about $10 million to run this place for 20 years? That would be safe. Yes. Michael pulled out his phone and called his financial advisor. David, I need you to transfer $12 million from my investment account into a new foundation account. Yes, $12 million. Today. Coach Thompson grabbed Michael's arm. Michael, that's too much money. You can't spend that much on this project. Coach, last year I made $93 million and spent maybe $5 million on actual necessities. The rest just sits in banks making more money I don't need. This is the best investment I've ever made. Ahmad was grinning. Michael, you're going to change hundreds of lives with this center. No, Michael said, looking at Coach Thompson. We're going to change hundreds of lives. This is a team effort. They spent the rest of the afternoon walking through the warehouse, planning where everything would go. Coach Thompson had ideas for every corner of the building. Ahmad took measurements and made lists of contractors they would need to hire. As the sun was setting, they sat on the front steps of the building, looking out at the neighborhood around them. You know what we need? Coach Thompson said suddenly. What's that, Coach? We need a name that kids will remember. Something that makes them excited to come here. Michael thought about his father's letters and all the lessons he had learned over the past few days. What about the Earl Thompson Center for Youth Development? Coach Thompson shook his head. No, son, this center isn't about me. It's about your father's dream and your commitment to honor it. Then what should we call it? Coach Thompson smiled. The Dream Center. Because that's what this place is really about. Teaching kids that dreams are possible if you're willing to work for them. Ahmad nodded approvingly. The Dream Center. I like that. It's simple, but it says everything people need to know. As they drove back toward the motel, Michael felt a sense of peace he hadn't experienced in years. For the first time since his father's death, he felt like he was doing exactly what he was supposed to be doing. Coach, there's one more thing I need to ask you. What's that, son? When we open this center, I want you to make a speech to the first group of kids. I want you to tell them about believing in dreams even when things look impossible. Coach Thompson's eyes filled with tears. Michael, I don't know if I'm good at making speeches. Coach, you've been making speeches your whole life. Every time you encouraged a kid who was ready to quit, that was a speech. Every time you taught a lesson about character and hard work, that was a speech. What would I say to these kids? Michael thought about everything Coach Thompson had taught him over the years. Tell them the same thing you told me when I was 16 years old and ready to give up. Tell them that champions aren't made when things are easy. They're made when things are hard. Coach Thompson nodded slowly. I can do that. Ahmad pulled into the motel parking lot and parked next to Coach Thompson's room. Gentlemen, Ahmad said, I think we have the beginning of something special here. Just the beginning. Michael agreed. Tomorrow we start making phone calls. We hire architects, contractors, and staff. We turn this dream into reality. Coach Thompson got out of the car and walked toward his motel room. Then he stopped and turned back. Michael, there's something I need to tell you. Something that might change how you feel about this whole project. Michael's heart started beating faster. What is it, Coach? Coach Thompson looked down at his feet, then back up at Michael. Your father wasn't the only one who made me promise to watch out for you, son. There was someone else. Someone who cared about you just as much as your father did, but in a different way. Who was it? Coach Thompson walked back toward the car, his face serious. Your father's best friend, Michael. The man who was with him the night he was killed. The man who never got to keep his own promise to help you because he was too hurt by guilt and grief to face you. Michael felt the world spinning around him. Coach, what are you talking about? Who was with my father that night? Coach Thompson reached into his pocket and pulled out one more letter. This one looked different from all the others. The handwriting was shaky, desperate. This letter came to me 6 months after your father died, Michael. It's from the man who was supposed to protect your father that night, the man who has been living with the guilt ever since. Michael's hands were shaking as he took the letter. Who wrote this, Coach? Coach Thompson's voice was barely a whisper. Someone who needs our help just as much as these kids do. Someone who has been punishing himself for 30 years because he couldn't save your father's life. Tomorrow couldn't come fast enough. Michael couldn't sleep again. He sat in his hotel room holding the mysterious letter, but he couldn't bring himself to open it. Who was with his father the night he died? Why had this person been hiding for 30 years? And what did this have to do with building the Dream Center? At 7 in the morning, Michael drove to the Sunset Motel. Coach Thompson was sitting in his usual chair, but he looked tired and worried. Good morning, Coach. Did you sleep? Not much, son. I've been thinking about that letter all night. Maybe I shouldn't have told you about it. Michael sat down beside his old coach. Coach, I need to know the truth about my father's death. I need to know who this person is. Are you sure? Some truths are harder to carry than secrets. Michael nodded. I'm sure. But first, let's open this letter together. Coach Thompson watched as Michael carefully unfolded the letter. The handwriting was messy, like someone had been crying while they wrote it. Michael began to read out loud. Dear Coach Thompson, my name is Robert Williams. I was James Jordan's best friend and golf partner. I was with him the night he was murdered, and I've been living in hell ever since. Michael's voice started shaking. Coach, who is Robert Williams? Keep reading, son. He explains everything. Michael continued. James and I had been friends since high school. We played golf together every weekend. We talked about our kids, our dreams, our fears. He was like a brother to me. I remember Mr. Williams, Michael said quietly. He used to come to our house for barbecues. The night James died, we were driving back from a golf tournament in South Carolina. James was tired, so I offered to drive, but James said he wanted to drive his new car. He was so proud of that Lexus. Michael felt tears starting in his eyes. His father had been so excited about that car. We stopped at a rest area around midnight because James wanted to take a nap. I told him we should get a hotel room, but he said the car was comfortable enough. I should have insisted on the hotel. I should have protected him. Coach Thompson put his hand on Michael's shoulder. Keep reading, son. 2 men came to the car around 2 in the morning. I was sleeping in the passenger seat. They had guns. They told us to give them our money and jewelry. James stayed calm and gave them everything they asked for. Michael's hands were shaking so hard he could barely hold the letter. But then one of the men saw James's championship ring. The ring Michael had given him after winning his first NBA title. The man tried to take it off James's finger, but it was stuck. James told him to be careful, that the ring meant everything to him because his son had given it to him. Dad never took that ring off, Michael whispered. The man got angry and hit James in the head with his gun. James fell over, and I thought they would leave. But then the other man got scared and said they had to make sure we couldn't identify them. Michael couldn't read anymore. Coach Thompson took the letter gently from his hands. They shot James twice. Then they turned the gun on me. But something went wrong with their gun, and it didn't fire. They panicked and ran away. Coach Thompson's voice was breaking as he read. I held James in my arms for 20 minutes until the police came. He was still alive when they got there. He whispered something to me before the ambulance took him away. He said, "Tell Michael I'm proud of him. Tell him to take care of Coach Thompson when he gets old." Michael was sobbing now. He thought about you even when he was dying? Coach Thompson wiped his own eyes. There's more, Michael. James died at the hospital 2 hours later. I've never forgiven myself for not protecting him. I should have driven that night. I should have insisted on a hotel. I should have fought those men instead of just sitting there like a coward. Mr. Williams wasn't a coward, Michael said. He couldn't have stopped men with guns. Coach Thompson continued reading. I tried to attend James's funeral, but I couldn't face Michael or the family. How could I look at them knowing I had failed to protect their father? So I moved away from North Carolina. I've been living in Virginia for 30 years, and I've never stopped feeling guilty. Where is he now, Coach? Keep listening, son. Coach Thompson. I'm writing to you because I read in the newspaper that you're working with Michael to build a youth center. I want to help. I have money saved up, and I want to give it all to honor James's memory. But I don't know if Michael would want help from the man who failed to save his father. Coach Thompson folded the letter carefully. That's the end of it, Michael. Michael sat in silence for several minutes, trying to process everything he had learned. Coach, this man has been punishing himself for 30 years for something that wasn't his fault. That's right, son. Just like you've been punishing yourself for forgetting where you came from. What do you mean? Michael, guilt is like a poison. It eats away at your soul until you can't see clearly anymore. Mr. Williams thinks he failed your father. You think you failed me, but both of you are wrong. Michael looked at Coach Thompson with confusion. Coach, I did fail you. I let you end up living in a motel while I was playing golf and making millions of dollars. Coach Thompson smiled sadly. Son, do you remember what I told you about champions? You said champions aren't made when things are easy. They're made when things are hard. That's right. Well, living in this motel has been hard. Working at the grocery store has been hard. But those hard times taught me something important. What did they teach you? They taught me that my value as a person isn't based on where I live or how much money I have. My value is based on how many lives I've touched and how many kids I've helped believe in themselves. Coach Thompson stood up and walked to his motel room window. Michael, I've helped over 500 kids learn to play basketball during my career. Some of them got college scholarships. Some of them became teachers and coaches themselves. Some of them just became good fathers and mothers who teach their own children to work hard and never give up. You've changed hundreds of lives, Coach. That's right, and living in this motel for 8 months doesn't erase any of that. Just like Mr. Williams not being able to stop those criminals doesn't erase 30 years of being a good friend to your father. Michael began to understand what Coach Thompson was trying to teach him. You want me to contact Mr. Williams. I want you to give him the same gift you're giving me, son. The gift of forgiveness and a chance to honor your father's memory. But Coach, what if he's changed? What if 30 years of guilt have made him bitter or angry? Coach Thompson pulled out his phone and showed Michael a text message that had arrived that morning. Mr. Williams texted me last night after I told him we were building the center. Look what he said. Michael read the message. Coach Thompson, I have $150,000 saved up. It's all the money I have in the world, but I want to give every penny to Michael's center. I don't need forgiveness. I just need to do something that would make James proud. Michael felt his heart racing. He wants to give us all his money? Michael, this man has been waiting 30 years for a chance to honor your father's memory. Are you gonna let him help us? Or are you gonna let him keep carrying that guilt forever? Michael thought about his father's letters and all the lessons he had learned over the past week. He thought about forgiveness and second chances and the power of believing in people when they couldn't believe in themselves. Call him, Coach. Tell him to come to North Carolina. Tell him we want to meet him. Coach Thompson smiled. Are you sure, son? I'm sure. But I have one condition. What's that? Michael's voice got strong and determined. I don't want his money. I want something much more valuable than that. What do you want? I want him to work with us at the center. I want him to help us teach kids about second chances and forgiveness. I want him to prove to himself that one terrible night doesn't define who he is. Coach Thompson's eyes filled with tears of pride. Michael, your father would be so proud of the man you've become. Will you call him today? I'll call him right now. As Coach Thompson dialed the number, Michael felt something shift inside his chest. For 30 years, he had wondered about the details of his father's death. He had been angry at the criminals who took his father away, but he had never thought about the other victim that night. The friend who survived but never really lived again.
Mr. Williams? Coach Thompson said into the phone. This is Earl Thompson. I'm here with Michael Jordan, and we'd like you to come home to North Carolina. We have work to do.
Michael could hear crying on the other end of the phone. After 30 years of exile, Robert Williams was finally being invited to come home. Tomorrow couldn't come fast enough. 3 days later, Michael stood in the parking lot of the Wilmington airport, waiting for Robert Williams to arrive. His heart was beating fast. He hadn't seen his father's best friend since he was a teenager. What would Mr. Williams look like now? What would they say to each other? Coach Thompson stood beside Michael, holding a small sign that said, "Welcome home, Robert." Ahmad Rashad was there too, ready to help with whatever came next. At 2 o'clock, passengers began walking out of the terminal. Michael watched each face, looking for someone he might recognize. Then he saw him. Robert Williams looked much older than Michael remembered. His hair was completely white, and he walked with a slight limp. But his eyes were the same kind eyes that Michael remembered from childhood barbecues. When Mr. Williams saw Michael, he stopped walking. Tears started streaming down his face. He dropped his Saul's suitcase and covered his face with his hands. Michael walked over slowly. "Mr. Williams? It's me, Michael." Robert Williams looked up through his tears. "Michael, you look just like your father did when he was your age. I'm so sorry, son. I'm so sorry I couldn't save him." Michael pulled the older man into a hug. "Mr. Williams, you have nothing to be sorry for. Nothing that happened that night was your fault." They held each other for a long moment, both crying for the man they had both loved and lost. Coach Thompson and Ahmad watched quietly, letting the two men have their moment of healing. Finally, Michael stepped back and looked at Mr. Williams. "Sir, I want you to meet some important people. This is Coach Thompson, the man my father asked you to help me take care of. And this is Ahmad Rashad, my business partner." Mr. Williams shook hands with both men. "Coach Thompson, James talked about you all the time. He said you were the reason Michael never gave up on basketball." "James was a good man and a good father," Coach Thompson replied. "He raised an exceptional son." Ahmad picked up Mr. Williams' suitcase. "Mr. Williams, we have a lot to show you. Michael has been working hard to honor your friend's memory." As they drove through downtown Wilmington, Michael told Mr. Williams about the Dream Center. He explained how finding Coach Thompson at the motel had changed his perspective on success and responsibility. "We're building something that will help kids for generations," Michael said. "Something that proves my father's life meant something beyond just raising me." Mr. Williams listened quietly, wiping tears from his eyes. "Michael, your father would be so proud. He always said his greatest achievement wasn't raising a famous basketball player. It was raising a good man." They stopped at the warehouse that would soon become the Dream Center. Construction had already begun. Workers were installing new windows and reinforcing the floors for basketball courts. "This is incredible," Mr. Williams said, walking through the space. "How much is this costing you, Michael?" "Money doesn't matter, sir. What matters is impact. Coach Thompson and I want to help 80 kids at a time. We want to teach them basketball, but more importantly, we want to teach them life skills. Mr. Williams nodded approvingly. Your father always said that sports were just a way to teach bigger lessons. Coach Thompson led them to the area where the main basketball court would be installed. Mr. Williams, we'd like you to be part of this project. Not just as a donor, but as a team member. What would I do? I don't know anything about coaching basketball. Michael smiled. We don't need you to coach basketball, sir. We need you to coach life. You've been a successful businessman for 30 years. You understand how to work hard and overcome challenges. But Michael, I'm 68 years old, and I carry a lot of guilt and sadness. That guilt and sadness make you perfect for this job, Coach Thompson said. Some of the kids who come here will be carrying their own guilt and sadness. They need to see an adult who has worked through difficult emotions and come out stronger. Ahmad pulled out the architectural plans for the center. Mr. Williams, we want to create a mentorship program. Kids will be paired with adults who can teach them about making good choices and planning for the future. You want me to be a mentor? We want you to be the head of the mentorship program, Michael said. We want you to recruit other adults from the community and train them to work with our kids. Mr. Williams sat down on a wooden crate, overwhelmed by the offer. Michael, I've spent 30 years thinking I was a failure. Thinking I was a coward who couldn't protect his best friend. Mr. Williams, my father didn't think you were a coward. If he did, he wouldn't have trusted you with his final message to me. What message? Michael's voice got quiet and serious. Coach Thompson told me that my father's last words were about being proud of me and taking care of Coach Thompson. But you were the one he trusted to deliver that message. He trusted you with the most important thing he had to say. Mr. Williams started crying again. I never looked at it that way. My father chose you to be there with him that night because you were his closest friend. What happened to him wasn't your fault, but what you do with the rest of your life can be his legacy. Coach Thompson sat down beside Mr. Williams. Robert, I've learned something important over the past week. We can't change the past, but we can choose what to do with our pain. We can let it destroy us, or we can use it to help others. How do I use my pain to help others? By being honest with kids about your struggles, Michael explained. By showing them that good people sometimes go through terrible experiences, but those experiences don't have to define who they become. Ahmad spread the architectural plans on a table made from another wooden crate. Mr. Williams, look at this room. It's going to be called the Mentorship Center. We want your input on how to design it. Mr. Williams studied the plans carefully. Could we have small meeting rooms? Sometimes kids need privacy to talk about difficult things. Absolutely, Michael said. What else? Maybe a kitchen area where mentors and kids can cook together. Some of the best conversations happen when people are working with their hands. Coach Thompson smiled. That's a wonderful idea, Robert. Over the next 2 hours, Mr. Williams transformed from a broken man seeking forgiveness into an excited planner full of ideas. He suggested a library of books about overcoming challenges. He wanted a wall where kids could write their goals and dreams. He even suggested a garden where kids could plant vegetables and learn about patience and growth. Mr. Williams, Michael said as the sun began to set, you're not just going to run our mentorship program, you're going to revolutionize it. Do you really think I can do this, Michael? Sir, my father trusted you with his life. I'm trusting you with something just as important. The lives of kids who need hope. That evening, the 4 men sat in Coach Thompson's new apartment, eating pizza and planning the center's opening day. Coach Thompson had moved out of the motel 3 days earlier, and his small apartment felt like a palace compared to room 114 at the Sunset Motel. When do you want to open? Mr. Williams asked. September 15th, Michael replied. That gives us 6 months to finish construction and hire staff. What about publicity? How will people know about the center? Ahmad grinned. We're going to have the biggest grand opening party Wellington has ever seen. But first, we're going to do something smaller. What's that? Coach Thompson asked. We're going to invite 20 kids from the neighborhood to help us paint the walls and set up equipment. They'll be our first students, and they'll feel ownership in the center because they helped build it. Michael nodded enthusiastically. I want those kids to know this center belongs to them, not to me. Mr. Williams looked around the room at his new partners. Gentlemen, I have a confession to make. What's that? Michael asked. For 30 years, I've felt dead inside. I've been going through the motions of living, but I haven't felt alive. Today is the first day since 1993 that I feel like I have a reason to get up in the morning. Coach Thompson reached over and patted Mr. Williams on the shoulder. Robert, that's what hope feels like. I felt the same way when Michael found me at the motel. And I felt the same way when I read my father's letters, Michael added. Sometimes we need other people to remind us who we really are. Ahmad raised his soda can like he was making a toast. To James Jordan, who raised a son, who understands that success is only valuable when you share it. They all raised their drinks. To James Jordan, they said together. As they sat there planning and dreaming, Michael felt his father's presence again. But this time, it wasn't sad or guilty. It was proud. James Jordan had dreamed of his son becoming successful. But more than that, he had dreamed of his son becoming significant. Looking around the room at Coach Thompson, Mr. Williams and Ahmad, Michael realized that his father's greatest gift wasn't the basketball genes or the competitive spirit. It was the example of how to treat people with kindness and how to use whatever gifts you have to lift others up. Gentlemen, Michael said, we're going to change some lives, starting with our own. Coach Thompson added with a smile. Tomorrow couldn't come fast enough. 2 weeks before the Dream Center's grand opening. Everything was going perfectly. The 3 basketball courts were finished and gleaming. The study hall had new computers and hundreds of books. The kitchen was stocked with healthy food. 20 local kids had been selected as the first students, and they were coming every day after school to help with final preparations. Michael arrived at the center early that morning, excited to see the new sound system being installed. The opening ceremony was going to be special, with local officials, news reporters, and families from all over Wilmington attending. Coach Thompson was already there, supervising the installation of basketball hoops. At 78 years old, he had more energy than men half his age. The past month of purposeful work had given him new life. Good morning, Coach, Michael called out. How are the hoops looking? Coach Thompson didn't answer. He was standing very still, holding onto one of the basketball poles. Coach, are you okay? Michael walked closer and saw that Coach Thompson's face was pale and sweaty. His breathing was short and quick. Coach, what's wrong? I feel dizzy, Michael, and my chest hurts. Michael's heart started racing. Sit down, Coach. Sit down right now. He helped Coach Thompson to a folding chair. But the older man was getting worse. His left arm was tingling, and he was having trouble speaking clearly. Call 911 right. Michael shouted to the construction workers. Call 911 right now. Michael knelt beside Coach Thompson, holding his hand. Stay with me, Coach. Help is coming. Michael, Coach Thompson whispered, if something happens to me, nothing's gonna happen to you. You're going to be fine. Listen to me, son. If something happens, promise me you won't let this center die. These kids need hope. Coach, stop talking like that. You're going to be here for the opening. You're going to see hundreds of kids learn and grow. The ambulance arrived within 5 minutes. The paramedics quickly checked Coach Thompson's vital signs and loaded him onto a stretcher. We're taking him to Cape Fear Valley Hospital, one of the paramedics told Michael. You can follow us there. Michael rode in the ambulance, holding Coach Thompson's hand the whole way. The older man drifted in and out of consciousness, but whenever he was awake, he squeezed Michael's hand tight. At the hospital, doctors immediately took Coach Thompson into the emergency room. Michael was left sitting in the waiting area, terrified and alone. He called Ahmad and Mr. Williams, who both rushed to the hospital. Then he called Coach Thompson's doctor to make sure the old man had the best medical care possible. Dr. Sarah Martinez came out after 2 hours. She looked tired but relieved. Mr. Jordan, Coach Thompson has had a mild heart attack. The good news is that we caught it early and were able to restore blood flow to his heart. Is he going to be okay? He's stable now, but he's weak. The next 24 hours are critical. Heart attacks are serious at any age, but especially for someone who's 78 years old. Can I see him? He's sleeping now, but you can sit with him. Just keep it quiet. Michael walked into Coach Thompson's hospital room. His mentor looked so small and fragile connected to all those machines. Tubes and wires surrounded the man who just hours ago had been full of energy and excitement. Michael pulled a chair close to the bed and took Coach Thompson's hand again. Coach, I don't know if you can hear me, But I need you to fight. I need you to get better. We have work to do. Ahmad and Mr. Williams arrived and sat quietly in the room. They didn't talk much, but their presence was comforting. Around midnight, Coach Thompson opened his eyes. He looked confused at first, then focused on Michael's face. Michael? What happened? You had a heart attack, Coach, but you're going to be okay. Coach Thompson tried to sit up, but Michael gently pushed him back down. The center? What about the opening? Don't worry about the center, Coach. Worry about getting better. No, Michael. I need to know. Are you going to cancel the opening? Michael looked at Ahmed and Mr. Williams. They nodded encouragingly. Coach, the opening is going to happen exactly as planned, but you need to rest so you can be there. Coach Thompson smiled weakly. Good. Those kids have been working so hard to get ready. A nurse came in to check on Coach Thompson. She adjusted his medication and told everyone they should let him sleep. I'll be right here when you wake up, Michael promised. Coach Thompson squeezed Michael's hand. Promise me something else, son. Anything, Coach. Promise me that if I don't make it through this, you'll tell the kids at the opening ceremony that I believed in them. Tell them that dreams are possible if they work hard and never give up. Coach, you're gonna tell them yourself. Promise me, Michael. Michael felt tears in his eyes. I promise, Coach. But you're going to be there to see their faces when they hear it. Over the next 3 days, Coach Thompson slowly got stronger. The doctors said his heart had suffered some damage, but with rest and medication he should recover well. Michael spent every day at the hospital. He brought his laptop and worked from Coach Thompson's room, handling last-minute details for the center's opening. Mr. Williams visited every afternoon, bringing books and magazines. Ahmad coordinated with contractors to finish the final preparations at the center. On the 4th day, Dr. Martinez had good news. Coach Thompson can go home tomorrow, she told Michael. But he needs to take it easy for at least a month. No heavy lifting, no stressful activities, and he needs to take his heart medication every day. What about the opening ceremony? He can attend, but only as a guest. No speaking, no physical activity. Just sitting and watching. Michael was thrilled. Did you hear that, Coach? You get to see the center open. Coach Thompson was sitting up in bed looking much better than he had in days. Michael, I've been thinking while I've been stuck in this bed. What about the speech you're going to give at the opening? About what you should tell those kids? What should I tell them? Coach Thompson's eyes were bright and focused. Tell them that this center isn't really about basketball. It's about believing in themselves when nobody else does. It's about getting back up when life knocks them down. That's beautiful, Coach. And tell them about your father. Tell them that James Jordan worked double shifts to pay for your basketball dreams because he understood that investing in young people is the best investment you can make. Michael nodded, writing notes on his phone. Most importantly, Michael, tell them that this center belongs to them. It's not a charity or a handout. It's their home away from home, and they have a responsibility to take care of it and help it grow. Mr. Williams had been listening quietly from his chair in the corner. Earl, you're not just a basketball coach. You're a philosopher. Coach Thompson laughed, which was the best sound Michael had heard in days. Robert, I've had 78 years to figure out what really matters in life. What matters is relationships. What matters is helping others succeed. What matters is leaving the world a little better than you found it. The next morning, Michael helped Coach Thompson get dressed and pack his things. The older man moved slowly, but he was determined to get ready for the opening ceremony. Michael, there's one more thing I need to tell you. What's that, Coach? This heart attack taught me something important. Life is fragile and unpredictable. We can't waste time waiting for the perfect moment to do good things. What do you mean? I mean that after we get this center running smoothly, we need to start planning the next one. And the one after that. We need to train other coaches and mentors to carry on this work when we're no longer able to do it. Michael smiled. Even after a heart attack, Coach Thompson was thinking about expanding their mission. Coach, let's focus on getting through the opening ceremony first. Then we can plan to change the world. Deal, Coach Thompson said, shaking Michael's hand. But don't let me forget, these kids need more than one center. They need a move. As they walked out of the hospital together, Michael realized that Coach Thompson's heart attack had actually made him more determined, not less. The scare had reminded him that time was precious and that important work couldn't wait. 2 days later, everything was ready for the grand opening. The center looked perfect. The staff was prepared, and 20 excited kids were counting down the hours until the ceremony began. Coach Thompson was resting at his apartment, saving his energy for the big day. Michael was at the center, doing final checks and trying to calm his nerves. Tomorrow couldn't come fast enough. The next morning, Michael woke up before sunrise. He couldn't sleep, but it wasn't because he was worried anymore. He was excited. Today, Coach Thompson would be released from the hospital, and tomorrow would be the grand opening of the Dream Center. Michael arrived at Cape Fear Valley Hospital at 7 a.m. with a bag of fresh clothes for Coach Thompson. When he walked into the room, he found his old coach sitting up in bed, looking stronger than he had in a week. "Good morning, son," Coach Thompson said with a smile. "I'm ready to get out of this place. How are you feeling, Coach? Like a man who has work to do? My heart might be a little damaged, but my spirit is stronger than ever." Dr. Martinez came in with Coach Thompson's discharge papers. "Mr. Thompson, you're officially cleared. Go home. But remember what we discussed about taking it easy." "Don't worry, doctor. I'll watch him like a hawk," Michael promised. "And I'll watch myself too," Coach Thompson added. "I have too much to live for to take any chances." As they left the hospital, Coach Thompson moved slowly but steadily. Michael could see that the heart attack had scared him, but it had also given him a new appreciation for life. "Michael, can we drive by the center before we go to my apartment? I want to see if everything is ready for tomorrow." "Are you sure you're up for it, Coach?" "I need to see it, son. I've been lying in that hospital bed for a week, imagining what it looks like now." When they pulled up to the Dream Center, Coach Thompson's eyes filled with tears. The building looked amazing. A large banner hung across the front that read, "Welcome to the Earl Thompson Dream Center, where dreams come true through hard work." "Earl Thompson Dream Center?" Coach Thompson asked, his voice shaking. Michael smiled. "While you were in the hospital, Ahmed, Mr. Williams and I decided that this center needed to be named after the man who inspired it. The man who spent his whole life believing in kids when nobody else would. Michael, I can't let you name this place after me. This was your father's dream." "Coach, my father's dream was for me to take care of the people who took care of me. Naming this center after you is how I honor both you and him." They walked slowly through the building. Everything was perfect. The basketball courts gleamed under the bright lights. The study hall was filled with new computers and books. The kitchen was stocked with healthy food. The mentorship center had comfortable chairs and inspiring posters on the walls. In the main gymnasium, 20 kids were practicing a welcome song they had written for the opening ceremony. When they saw Coach Thompson, they stopped singing and ran over to him. "Coach Thompson," shouted a 12-year-old girl named Maya. "We were so scared when we heard you were sick. Are you feeling better?" asked a 14-year-old boy named Marcus. Coach Thompson knelt down slowly to be at their eye level. "I'm feeling much better thanks to prayers from kids like you. Are you ready for tomorrow's big day? We've been practicing our song every day," said another girl named Destiny. "Wait until you hear it. And we painted a special banner for you," added a boy named Kevin. "It says, 'Thank you for believing in us.'" Coach Thompson had to wipe tears from his eyes. "You kids are the reason I wanted to get better. You're the reason this center exists." Michael watched the interaction between Coach Thompson and the kids. Even after a heart attack, his old mentor's face lit up when he was around young people. This was what he was born to do. Ahmad and Mr. Williams arrived at the center with final preparations for tomorrow's ceremony. They had arranged for a local television crew to film the opening, and the mayor was planning to attend. "How are you feeling, Earl?" Mr. Williams asked, giving Coach Thompson a careful hug. "I'm feeling grateful, Robert. Grateful to be alive, grateful for this center, and grateful for friends like you." Ahmad showed them the final schedule for tomorrow's opening. "We'll start at 10 a.m. with a ribbon-cutting ceremony. Then Michael will give a speech, followed by a demonstration of the programs we'll offer." "What about the kids?" Coach Thompson asked. "Will they get to participate?" "They're going to perform their welcome song and give tours of the center to visitors," Michael explained. "This day belongs to them as much as it belongs to us." That afternoon, they moved Coach Thompson back to his apartment. The place felt different now. Not just because he was recovering from a heart attack, but because it was filled with hope and excitement about the future. Michael stayed with Coach Thompson through the evening, helping him organize his medications and prepare for tomorrow. As they sat together on the couch, Coach Thompson pulled out a notebook he had been writing in during his hospital stay. "Michael, I want to read you something I wrote while I was lying in that hospital bed. What is it, Coach? It's a letter to the kids who will come to our center. A letter about what I hope they'll learn. Coach Thompson opened his notebook and began to read. Dear future champions, when you walk through the doors of this center, remember that you're not just here to learn basketball. You're here to learn about life. You're here to discover that failure isn't falling down, it's staying down. You're here to learn that dreams don't come true by magic. They come true through hard work, dedication, and never giving up. Michael listened quietly, moved by his mentor's words. You're here to learn that success isn't just about what you achieve for yourself. Real success is about what you do to help others achieve their dreams too. You're here to learn that where you start in life doesn't determine where you finish. Coach Thompson looked up from his notebook. How does that sound? It sounds perfect, Coach. Are you planning to read that tomorrow? If I'm feeling strong enough, yes. But if not, I want you to read it for me. You'll be strong enough, Coach. I can see it in your eyes. You're not ready to quit yet. Coach Thompson smiled. You're right about that, son. I feel like I'm just getting started. They spent the evening reviewing the list of kids who would be starting at the center. Each child had been carefully selected based on need, potential, and desire to learn. Some came from single-parent homes. Others had parents who worked multiple jobs and needed a safe place for their children after school. These kids remind me of you when you were their age, Coach Thompson said, looking at their photos. How so? They have that hunger in their eyes. That desire to prove they're capable of more than their circumstances suggest. Michael nodded. That's exactly why we built this place. At 9 p.m., Michael prepared to leave Coach Thompson's apartment. Tomorrow would be a big day. Both men needed rest. Michael, before you go, I need to tell you something. What's that, Coach? Lying in that hospital bed gave me time to think about my life. About all the kids I've coached. All the games I've watched. All the lessons I've tried to teach. And what did you think about? I realized that finding you at that motel was the best thing that ever happened to me. Not because you saved me from poverty, but because you gave me a chance to be significant again. Michael felt his throat tighten with emotion. Coach, you were always significant. I just helped you remember it. No, son. There's a difference between being a good coach and being a life changer. This center is going to change lives for generations. And I get to be part of it because you didn't forget where you came from. They hugged goodbye and Michael drove back to his hotel. As he lay in bed that night, he thought about the journey that had brought them to this moment. From finding Coach Thompson at the Sunset Motel, to building a center that would help hundreds of kids. It had all happened because of his father's letters and Coach Thompson's belief in the power of dreams. Tomorrow, they would officially open the Earl Thompson Dream Center. Tomorrow, they would begin the work of changing lives. But tonight, Michael felt peace. The kind of peace that comes from knowing you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing with your life. Tomorrow couldn't come fast enough. September 15th, 2024. The day had finally arrived. Michael woke up at 5 a.m., too excited to sleep any longer. He looked out his hotel window at the clear blue sky and smiled. It was perfect weather for the grand opening of the Earl Thompson Dream Center. By 7 a.m., Michael was at Coach Thompson's apartment, helping him get ready for the biggest day of both their lives. How are you feeling, Coach? Michael asked, as he helped his mentor adjust his tie. I feel like a man who's about to see his life's work come to fruition, Coach Thompson replied. My heart is strong, my mind is clear, and my spirit is soaring. They drove to the center together, arriving 2 hours before the ceremony was scheduled to begin. Already, a small crowd was gathering outside. Parents with their children, local business owners, and news reporters were setting up their equipment. Inside the center, everything looked perfect. The 20 kids who would be the first students were already there, dressed in matching blue t-shirts that said Dream Center Pioneers. They were buzzing with excitement, practicing their welcome song one last time. Ahmad was coordinating with the catering staff, making sure there would be enough food for everyone. Mr. Williams was in the mentorship center, making final adjustments to the displays that showed the programs they would offer. At 9:30 a.m., Coach Thompson asked Michael to walk through the center with him one more time before the guests arrived. Son, do you remember what I told you that first day at the motel? About champions being made when things are hard? I remember, Coach. Well, look around you. This center exists because things got hard for both of us. You could have driven past that motel and never stopped. I could have given up when I lost my house. But we didn't give up, and now we're about to change hundreds of lives. They stopped in the main gymnasium, where 20 basketball hoops gleamed under the bright lights. Coach Thompson touched one of the backboards gently. Your father would be so proud, Michael. Not just of your success, but of your heart. He'd be proud of you too, Coach. You spent your whole life preparing for this moment. At 10 a.m. sharp, the ceremony began. Over 200 people had gathered in the main gymnasium. Michael looked out at the crowd and saw faces of all ages and backgrounds, united by their excitement for what the center represented. Mayor Patricia Williams stepped to the microphone first. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a historic day in Wilvigan. The Earl Thompson Dream Center represents the best of our community's successful people, giving back to help the next generation succeed. The crowd applauded warmly. I've known Earl Thompson for 20 years, the mayor continued. He coached my nephew when others had given up on him. Earl saw potential where others saw problems. Today, we honor a man who has spent his life believing in our children. Ahmad took the microphone next. This center exists because of a friendship between two men, James Jordan and his son Michael. James Jordan dreamed of his son using his success to help others. Michael Jordan made that dream come true by honoring the people who helped him succeed. Then it was Michael's turn to speak. He walked to the microphone slowly, looking out at the crowd. In the front row sat Coach Thompson, Mr. Williams, and the 20 Pioneer students, friends and neighbors. Michael began. 6 months ago, I was driving through Wilmington when my car broke down. That breakdown changed my life forever. He told the story of finding Coach Thompson at the Sunset Motel. He talked about his father's letters and the lessons he had learned about success and significance. This center isn't named after me because I didn't build it alone. Coach Thompson built it with 40 years of believing in kids when nobody else would. Mr. Williams built it by showing us that it's never too late to honor a friend's memory. Ahmed built it by turning dreams into reality. The crowd was listening intently, many people wiping away tears. But most importantly, these 20 young people built it by reminding us why this work matters. Maya, Marcus, Destiny, Kevin, and all the pioneers. You are the reason this center exists. Michael gestured toward the kids, who beamed with pride. Coach Thompson taught me that failure isn't falling down, it's staying down. Today, we're standing up for education, for dreams, for the belief that every child deserves a chance to succeed. The crowd erupted in applause. Michael invited Coach Thompson to come to the microphone. The older man stood slowly and walked forward, still moving carefully after his heart attack. My young friends, Coach Thompson said, his voice strong and clear. When I was your age, I had a coach who believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. Today, I want to be that coach for you. He pulled out the notebook he had written in at the hospital. You are here to learn that dreams don't come true by magic. They come true through hard work, dedication, and never giving up. You are here to learn that success isn't just about what you achieve for yourself. Real success is about what you do to help others achieve their dreams too. The kids in the front row were nodding, hanging on every word. Most importantly, you are here to learn that where you start in life doesn't determine where you finish. I started as a poor kid from a small town. Michael started as a teenager who got cut from his high school basketball team. But we didn't let our starts define our finishes. Coach Thompson's voice got stronger as he continued. This center belongs to you now. Take care of it. Learn from it. Grow in it. And someday when you're successful, remember to come back and help the next group of dreamers. The applause was thunderous. People were standing, cheering, and crying at the same time. Maya, the 12-year-old girl, stepped forward with a microphone. Coach Thompson, we have a surprise for you. All 20 kids stood up and began singing the song they had written. Thank you for believing when others said no way. Thank you for showing us dreams can come true. Thank you for teaching us how to be strong. Coach Thompson, this song is for you. Dreams are like basketballs. Sometimes they fall, but champions keep shooting until they score. You taught us that failing doesn't mean we're done. It means we keep trying until we have won. There wasn't a dry eye in the gymnasium. Coach Thompson was crying openly, and even Michael had tears streaming down his face. After the song, it was time for the ribbon cutting. Michael, Coach Thompson, Mr. Williams, Ahmed stood together holding giant scissors. The 20 pioneer students gathered around them. "This ribbon doesn't just open a building," Michael said. "It opens a future for every child who walks through these doors." They cut the ribbon together and the crowd cheered as balloons were released into the air. For the next 2 hours, visitors toured the center. They saw the basketball courts, the study hall, kitchen, and the mentorship center. Kids demonstrated their skills and explained what they hoped to learn. Local news reporter Jennifer Chen interviewed Michael for the evening broadcast. "Mr. Jordan, what do you hope this center will accomplish?" "I hope it will prove that every child has potential, even when that potential is hard to see. I hope it will show kids that dreams are possible if they're willing to work for them. And I hope it will honor my father's belief that success is only valuable when you use it to lift others up." As the ceremony wound down, Michael found Coach Thompson sitting in the bleachers, watching the pioneer students play basketball on their new courts. "How are you feeling, Coach?" "I feel complete, Michael. For the first time since Helen died, I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. The kids love you already. Did you see how they hung on every word of your speech? Those kids remind me why I became a coach in the first place. They have that fire in their eyes, that hunger to prove themselves." Michael sat down beside his mentor. "Coach, you know this is just the beginning, right? We're going to train coaches to start centers in other cities. We're going to create a movement." Coach Thompson smiled. "I'm ready for whatever comes next, son. Today proved that miracles are possible when good people work together." As the sun set over Wilmington, the Earl Thompson Dream Center stood as a beacon of hope. 20 kids had found a new home. A community had come together to support its children. And 3 men had learned that the greatest success comes from helping others succeed. Michael looked around at the center one more time before leaving. Tomorrow, the real work would begin. Tomorrow, they would start changing lives one child at a time. But tonight, he would celebrate what they had accomplished together. Tomorrow couldn't come fast enough. 6 months after the grand opening, the Earl Thompson Dream Center had become the heart of Wilmington's community. TD kids now attended programs every day. 15 had already improved their grades from failing to honor roll. 23 had joined their school basketball team. But most importantly, every single child had gained something priceless: the belief that their dreams were possible. Michael kept his promise to Coach Thompson. Every Tuesday evening, he was at the center coaching kids. No cameras, no publicity, just a man who remembered where he came from. The kids called him Coach Mike and treated him like any other adult who cared about them. On this particular Tuesday in March 2025, exactly 1 year after Michael had first found Coach Chomps at the Motel, something special was about to happen. Coach Thompson, now 79 and healthier than ever, had asked Michael to stay after the evening session ended. The kids had gone home, the staff had cleaned up, and the building was quiet. "Michael, there's something I need to tell you. Something I've been waiting a whole year to share." They sat in the comfortable chairs in the mentorship center, surrounded by photos of all the kids whose lives had been changed by the Dream Center. "What is it, Coach?" Coach Thompson pulled out a familiar wooden box, the same one that had contained Michael's father's final gift and the Believe in Dreams pin. "Remember when I told you that your father helped pay for my coaching education back in..." "Yes, sir. You said he gave you $500 when you were thinking about quitting coaching." "That was true, Michael, but it wasn't the whole truth." Michael's heart started beating faster. After everything they had been through together, what secret could Coach Thompson still be keeping? Coach Thompson opened the wooden box and pulled out an old bank deposit slip, yellow, with age. "Your father didn't just give me $500 once, son. He gave me $50 every month for 10 years. From 1980 to 1990, $6,000 total." Michael stared at the deposit slip in shock. $6,000? But why? Because your father understood something that most people don't understand. He knew that the best way to help his son succeed was to invest in the people who would teach and coach his son. Coach Thompson pulled out a folder full of similar deposit slips, all showing monthly payments from James Jordan. Every month, like clockwork, your father would bring me $50. He said it was to make sure I never had to choose between paying my bills and buying equipment for my players. "Dad was paying you to coach me." "No, Michael. He was paying me to coach everyone. He said, Earl, if you can afford to focus on coaching instead of worrying about money, you'll be a better coach for all the kids, including Michael." Michael felt tears starting in his eyes. His father had been thinking 10 steps ahead, investing not just in his son's success, but in the success of every child Coach Thompson would ever teach. "There's more, son." Coach Thompson pulled out a handwritten contract, signed by both his father and Coach Thompson. "In 1985, when you were really starting to show promise as a player, your father made me sign this agreement." Michael read the contract carefully. It stated that if Michael ever became professionally successful, James Jordan wanted Coach Thompson to make sure Michael never forgot his responsibility to help other kids. "This contract says that you were supposed to contact me if I ever became wealthy and forgot about giving back." "That's right. Your father made me promise that if you ever got so successful that you stopped caring about kids like you used to be, I would find you and remind you of your obligations." Michael looked up from the contract. "So finding you at that motel wasn't an accident?" Coach Thompson smiled gently. "Oh, it was an accident, son. I never planned to end up in that motel. I never planned to be poor and alone. But your father was wise enough to know that life is unpredictable. He created a backup plan." "What kind of backup plan?" "He set up a trust fund, Michael. A secret trust fund that was supposed to take care of me if I ever needed help in my old age." Michael's mind was spinning. "A trust fund? What happened to it?" Coach Thompson's face grew sad. "It was managed by a lawyer who died in 1995. His son took over the practice, but he made some bad investments. By 2010, the trust fund was worthless. I never told you because I didn't want you to feel guilty about something that wasn't your fault. So when you ended up at the motel, I was supposed to contact you then, according to your father's instructions. But I was too proud. I thought I could figure things out on my own." Michael sat in stunned silence for several minutes, processing everything he had learned. "Coach, are you telling me that my father planned for us to work together even if something happened to him?" "Your father was the smartest man I ever knew, Michael. He understood that successful people sometimes forget where they came from. He wanted to make sure you had someone in your life who would remind you of your roots." Coach Thompson pulled out one final item from the wooden box, a sealed envelope with Michael's name on it written in his father's handwriting. "This letter was supposed to be given to you only after you had built something that would help other kids. Something that proved you remembered your father's lessons about using success to serve others." Michael's hands shook as he opened the envelope. Inside was a letter dated 1993, just weeks before his father's death. He began to read aloud. "My son, if you are reading this letter, it means Earl Thompson has successfully reminded you of who you really are. It means you have used your success to help other kids chase their dreams. It means you have honored the sacrifices that your mother and I made to help you succeed." Michael had to stop reading for a moment to wipe his eyes. "Michael, I always knew you would be successful. From the time you were a little boy, I could see the fire in your eyes. But I was scared that success might change you. I was scared that you might forget that you didn't climb the mountain alone." Coach Thompson listened quietly as Michael continued reading. "Earl Thompson is more than your old coach, son. He is the guardian of your character. I paid him not just to teach you basketball, but to make sure you never forgot the values your mother and I tried to instill in you. He is the keeper of your conscience." Michael looked up at Coach Thompson with wonder. "You've been watching over me for my entire life. That was the plan, son. But life had other ideas. When I ended up at that motel, I thought I had failed your father. I thought I had broken my promise to watch over you. But you didn't fail, Coach. You were exactly where you needed to be when I needed to find you." Michael continued reading the letter. "If Earl is showing you this letter, it means you have proven that success hasn't corrupted your heart. It means you have chosen to be significant instead of just successful. It means you understand that the greatest victory isn't winning championships. It's making sure the ladder you climbed is still there for the next person." The letter concluded with words that took Michael's breath away. "Son, Earl Thompson believed in you when you were nobody special. Now I need you to believe in him when he needs it most. Take care of him the way he took care of you. Love him the way he loved you. Honor him the way he honored our family. And remember that helping him isn't charity, it's family taking care of family." Michael folded the letter carefully and looked at Coach Thompson through his tears. "Coach, you've been my guardian angel my whole life. I've been your father's representative on earth, Michael. Everything I did for you, I did because James Jordan asked me to. Everything you're doing for me now, you're doing because you're James Jordan's son." They sat together in comfortable silence. both men overwhelmed by the perfect circle of love and responsibility that James Jordan had created. Coach, there's something I need to tell you now. What's that, son? 6 months ago, I set up a new trust fund. One that can never be lost or stolen or mismanaged. One that will take care of you for the rest of your life, and then continue taking care of coaches like you for generations to come. Michael, you don't need to. Yes, I do need to, coach. Because now I understand what my father really wanted. He didn't just want me to take care of you. He wanted me to create a system that would take care of all the Coach Thompsons in the world. Michael pulled out his phone and showed Coach Thompson a legal document. This is the James Jordan Foundation for Youth Mentors. It has $50 million in it right now, and I'm adding more every year. It will provide salaries, healthcare, and retirement benefits for coaches and mentors who dedicate their lives to helping kids. Coach Thompson stared at the document in amazement. But that's not all, Coach. We're also using this foundation to build dream centers in 20 other cities, and we're training coaches like you to run them. 20 centers? By 2030, we want to have 100 centers across the country, each one named after a coach who spent their life believing in kids. Each one run by someone who understands that teaching is about more than just skills. It's about character. Coach Thompson was crying now, overwhelmed by the scope of Michael's vision. Your father dreamed big, Michael, but even he couldn't have imagined this. Actually, Coach, I think he did imagine this. I think he knew that if he could just get me to remember my responsibilities, I would figure out how to multiply the impact. Michael stood up and walked to the window that looked out over the basketball courts where kids practiced every day. Coach, do you remember what you told me the first day I found you at the motel? You said that helping me wasn't charity. It was family taking care of family. I remember. Well, now I understand what that really means. Every coach who dedicates their life to helping kids becomes part of our family. Every kid who learns to believe in themselves becomes part of our family. Every parent who sees their child gain confidence becomes part of our family. Michael turned back to face Coach Thompson. My father created a chain reaction of love that started with you believing in me. Now that chain reaction is going to help thousands of kids for generations to come. Coach Thompson stood up slowly and walked over to Michael. He put his hands on the younger man's shoulders, just like he used to do when Michael was 16 years old and needed guidance. Michael, your father would be so proud, not just of your success, but of your heart. You've taken everything he taught you and multiplied it beyond what anyone could have imagined. I couldn't have done it without you, Coach. You were the bridge between my father's dreams and my ability to make them come true. They hugged each other tightly, two men who had found each other when they both needed saving. As they prepared to leave the center that night, Coach Thompson had one more surprise. Michael, there's someone I want you to meet tomorrow. Someone who has been waiting to thank you for what you've done here. Who is it? Deshaun Williams, the 12-year-old boy you met playing basketball at that broken court a year ago. The one you promised to train if you worked hard and stayed in school. Michael's eyes lit up. Deshaun, how is he doing? He's grown 4 inches. His grades have improved from D's to A's, and he's the captain of his middle school basketball team. But more importantly, he's been volunteering here every weekend, helping younger kids learn to shoot. He's been helping other kids? Coach Thompson smiled. Just like someone once helped him. The chain reaction continues. Michael, your father's dream keeps growing. As they walked out of the Earl Thompson Dream Center together, Michael realized that his journey had come full circle. He had started as a broken-down traveler whose car had failed him. Now he was a man whose purpose had found him. The motel where Coach Thompson had lived was now an empty lot. In its place grew a small garden that Coach Thompson tended, teaching kids that beautiful things could grow in places where people once struggled. Michael looked back at the center one more time. Inside those walls, kids were learning that dreams were possible. Coaches were discovering that their lives had meaning. Parents were seeing their children believe in themselves. His father had been right all along. Success wasn't about how high you jumped. It was about how many people you lifted up with you. Tomorrow, Michael would meet with city officials in Charlotte about building the second Dream Center. Tomorrow, he would interview coaches who wanted to dedicate their lives to helping kids. Tomorrow, he would continue the work his father had started and Coach Thompson had protected. But tonight, he would call his mother and tell her that her husband's dream was alive and growing stronger every day. The greatest victory wasn't winning championships. It was making sure the ladder you climbed was still there for the next person to use. And thanks to his father's wisdom and Coach Thompson's faithfulness, that ladder would be there forever. A simple flat tire led to a life-changing reunion that honored a father's wisdom and created a legacy that will inspire generations of young dreamers. It reminds us that true success isn't measured by what we achieve for ourselves, but by how many people we lift up along the way. We'd love to know where you're listening from. Drop a comment below and tell us your city or country. It's amazing to connect with our global community of listeners. If this story touched your heart, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories like this one. We share real tales of kindness, second chances, and the power of never forgetting where you came from. And don't keep this story to yourself. Share it with your friends and family. In a world that often feels divided, stories like this remind us that small acts of remembering and caring can create ripple effects of hope that last forever. Thanks for listening. And remember, the ladder you climb should always be there for the next person to use. See you in the next story.